Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Zuhrotun Nurrita Zubaidah, my student number 122, and I'm from class MLS C, and I want to explain about situational context and socio-cultural context. The first is situational context. Situational context where you communicate appropriately and accordingly, especially time or place. Like when you speak in a class, at a party or celebration, during sport and at a funeral, all of the above events may not use the same language or language style. Of course, you will speak according to the context, like when in a sport club and at a funeral. Of course, when someone speaks, they will definitely use a different language and adjust the context. This difference is influenced by several factors, namely, first, the situation or place where the conversation took place. For example, in a meeting, when you have to speak and when you have to be quiet or listen to other members finish their conversation first. Second, the purpose of speaking. For example, thanking someone and asking for help by someone. For example, when you ask someone for help when you ask for an address in a new place, of course you will listen to the person's explanation and instructions, and you will be grateful after receiving explanation and direction from the person. The third, the role or relationship between speaker and listener. For example, between friends, between family, between teacher, police, or with our superiors, principals, and others. And the fourth, physical. For example, when at home, in the library, in the class, or at a restaurant. The fifth, how to communicate audience difference certainly matter. It's very different when we talk to one person, especially face to face, and with many people, as well as speaking directly or talk communication tools. For example, when she became a radio announcer and when in a formal event, she spoke into a microphone in front of a large audience. Of course, very different. Okay. The second is socio-cultural context. The socio-cultural context refers to the idea that language, rather than being in isolation, is closely linked to the culture and society in which it is spoken. This means that when language is studied, the socio-cultural context it uses also needs to be considered. And what is the meaning of cultural context? Cultural context is a type of aesthetic context. It is a social symbolic situation in which dramas realize text communication. Science culture refers to the symbolic system of human beings. The cultural context mainly refers to various symbolic expression systems that affect aesthetic communication. For example, the socio-cultural context between Indonesian and abroad on or in Europa. A very light difference. For example, when a lecturer greets the students with the words speak from hello dear or good morning honey to greet their students. It's very common practice abroad, but it will sound strange or special or even excessive when it is done in Indonesian, because it is very rarely done by lecturer or teachers in Indonesia. Students will even feel that this is too much or even too much. Example, example in Indonesian is easily Learners see the advertising language. To do this effectively, they need to understand the culture in which advertising works. Socio-cultural factors that affect understanding of the language, namely, the first, the way a person speaks shapes their view of the word. Second, between the speaker and the listener is influenced by their ethnic and gender status. Third, spoken language used to build a relationship and identify of a group. There are many types of English around the world, including variation of the standard English. Each of the variations of English reflect different cultures of English speaking. Language in the form of spoken text is also influential because it can be manipulated, can cause clash with a group. For example, especially government with cities, business with consumers, and etc. Therefore, understanding cultural context is very important to understand. And I think enough. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.